Over the last few months, a strange phenomenon has taken over the Indian internet. Thousands of young people are dropping their real names and adopting insect personas to join something called the Cockroach Janata Party. This trend traces back to a hearing at the Supreme Court of India regarding fake law degrees. Frustrated by the institutional mess, the presiding judge directed his anger at unemployed youngsters, calling them parasites and cockroaches who attack the system because they have no place in the profession. When media outlets picked up the quote, the outrage was immediate. But instead of just writing angry comments, the youth weaponized the insult, organizing themselves into a satirical political movement under the cockroach banner. This internet trend is a cynical response to a political vacuum. It highlights a system where leaders gladly stand at a podium to take personal credit whenever the GDP grows, but entirely refuse to resign or take responsibility when critical public services fail. In a political landscape that claims every success but disowns every failure, citizens effectively become disposable, turning a judge's insult into an accurate description of how the state views its own people. A performance review of the education sector reveals the stakes. Recently, a string of catastrophic exam leaks, including the NEET, UGC NET, and CLAT, have stalled the careers of millions of students, leaving them protesting in the streets for basic fairness. Even when the exams aren't leaking, the grading systems are failing. The CBSE recently rolled out a digital on-screen marking system. In practice, the software failed to scan pages and mismatched student answer sheets, resulting in hundreds of incorrect scores. The board's response to its own administrative disaster was to charge students extortionate fees, up to 700 rupees initially, just to access their own answer sheets and request a reevaluation. The state breaks the system, and the student pays the repair bill. Move over to infrastructure, and the pattern repeats. Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari is famous for making confident promises about building world-class highways. This chart shows the gap between the ministry's data and independent tracking. The government claims only 42 bridges have collapsed over the last 5 years. Media reports document at least 170 structural failures in that same window. These are concrete highways snapping in half, burying cars, and costing over 200 lives. The Railways Ministry runs on the same playbook. Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw frequently showcases presentations detailing how the Prime Minister has increased the railway budget to tens of thousands of crores. Official data shows 31 train accidents occurred during this high-budget tenure, resulting in hundreds of deaths and thousands of injuries. In both sectors, the state demands immense budgets and public trust. It delivers collapsed bridges and derailed trains. And yet, not a single minister at the top has offered a resignation. This lack of accountability turns lethal in public health care. Consider the crisis involving locally manufactured cough syrups. Lab testing revealed these syrups were tainted with diethylene glycol, a toxic industrial solvent used to cut costs. This contamination has killed dozens of children, from Madhya Pradesh to Gambia and Uzbekistan. When deaths occur, officials rely on the suspension loophole. This flowchart shows the reality of administrative punishment. An official is suspended, an inquiry is opened, and after paid leave they receive a clean sheet and transfer. Because the penalty is a paid vacation, the root causes are never addressed, and the cycle continues. We see this dynamic at the municipal level too. In Indore, residents submitted multiple complaints about foul-smelling, contaminated drinking water. No action was taken until over 20 people died and hundreds more were hospitalized. When the surviving residents took to the streets to beg for clean water, the administration responded by deploying water cannons to scatter the crowd. Administrative negligence is a shielded cycle of apathy that ends in the state actively assaulting the very people who demand clean water. Because the government refuses to be accountable, citizens have psychologically surrendered to privatized survival. Toxic water? Buy an RO filter. Hazardous air? Buy a purifier. Lethal climate? Buy an AC unit. You are individually purchasing the safety the state is supposed to provide. Politicians actively mock this desperation. While citizens were dying of heat stroke in 50-degree temperatures, a prominent minister publicly suggested that people should just carry onions in their pockets to stay cool. Government leaders even play the victim to deflect blame. During the RG Kar hospital crisis, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee took to the streets to protest her own administration's failure, while simultaneously questioning why women go out at night. This political theater forces desperate citizens to abandon their jobs and march in the streets just to demand basic legal action. Adopting the insect persona of the Cockroach Janata Party is a calculation. Loud, physical protests are met with water cannons and arrests, leaving satire as the only safe way to register disagreement with the government. Yet even this is a threat to the state. The government was so uncomfortable with a satirical movement highlighting its failures that it had the CJP Twitter account suspended. Individual workarounds only delay the inevitable. Until citizens force the government to accept accountability, the system will treat you as a bug on the windshield.